everybody! Today I want to show you a quick little free tutorial on what I carry around in my art kit. I do keep journals and document my trips. I travel quite a bit and I love to bring a sketchbook and my watercolors with me and sort of document the little special things that happen to me along the way. The first thing that I always take with me is, of course, a journal. Sometimes I make my own ahead of time, or in this particular case, I went to Europe and I just thought this sort of old world looking book, handmade, hand-tooled leather, was perfect for my journey. It has handmade and hand-cut watercolor paper that was just so great to sketch on and to watercolor on. And it was a little bit heavy to carry around, but I didn't mind for this particular trip. It was a really long journey. But anyway, just to give you an idea of, this is a typical day for me. Wherever I can, I stop and do a very quick little sketch. Sometimes I'll do the painting when I get back to my hotel room at night. So let me show you what I bring with me typically. Sometimes I won't bring all of it, but these are the essentials. If I'm going on a long excursion, I may have to cut down my little pack a little bit, but this is pretty much what I carry. I start with a container. I love a see-through plastic. This is actually a cosmetic case. I think I got it from Target and I know it was under $5, but I do prefer see-through because if I need something at a moment's notice, I don't have to dig. I can just reach right in and get it. So this particular one, if you can see, is wide. I can fit plenty in it. It will squish down a little bit in my suitcase or my carry-on. And this holds everything I need and then some. So this is the basic container that I use. Another good idea would be something that you purchase pillowcases, those little zipper containers that you'd find at a Bed Bath & Beyond or that type of thing. Those are really, really nice too. I just like something a little bit wider. Essentials for me would be the color. I use Caran d'Ache Neocolor watercolor pencils. This is a very small set. There are hundreds of colors, but this is a basic set. Of course, anything I bring with regard to color, I always make myself a swatch. So this is all the colors. This is how they are scribbled on and then watered down. This tucks nicely into my case. Also, I use these if I need just some background color and don't have time to wet my watercolors. These work perfectly, just scribble in backgrounds. In another video I will show you techniques on how to use different mediums, but this is just basically the art traveling kit. So this fits very nicely into our little case here. The watercolors I use, there are so many sets of traveling watercolors. This is a nice little very thin set. It's Angora. They are not expensive. In fact, these are very inexpensive watercolors. The downside to these is that they're opaque. Again, I've made a little swatch of all the colors. They are opaque. They're not beautiful, luscious, transparent watercolors, but for the sake of what I'm doing and the purpose, this is really the best thing. I can take this swatch out and I can set it underneath the tray, and this becomes my mixing palette here. As you can see, it's been well used. These dry very quickly so that I don't have wet, soppy paint dripping all over my bag as I go. I will typically spritz them, so that's another thing I always bring with me is a little spritzer. Spritz them to get them wet and then begin painting. If you want a little bit better quality watercolor, there is a nice kit. I'm going to go ahead and stick these both in our bag so you can see how this all fits in. It does just tuck right in there. Put the little water bottle in. This kit is a Winsor Newton watercolor kit. This is nice if I want to just drop this in my purse because it's basically an all-in-one. If I just need to go out and just bring a very simple little set with me, this is what I bring, but it's very good quality. It's very transparent watercolor. This kit is nice. The top pulls off, snaps off, and this becomes your water cup. You open it up, and again, I've prepared a swatch of the colors that are in here. This is your brush, and you just open it this way. It's, not the best brush in the world, but it'll do the trick in a pinch. This is a water bottle, so you can pop this open, pop the top off, fill it full of water, and you can carry your water with you. Also, the top of this can be used as a mixing palette. This side opens up and you have more mixing palette space here and even more here. And these are the colors I have in here now. This is what comes with the set. They're all the basics, as you can see. But the nice thing about this, these are called half pans, and these are cake watercolors. And these pans can slip right out, and you can change these. I do have a lot of liquid watercolors that I can interchange. So if I'm going on a particular trip, say I was going to the Caribbean, I could fill this full of the turquoise blues and the things that I would use, sand and sea colors, and change it out. So this is a very handy set. I don't always carry this with me, but I did want to show you this one just so you know that there's another option. And the nice thing is it just all goes right back together again. And you can see there's no need really to bring anything else. You can get a bottle of water on an airplane from your flight attendant and you're all set. I do love this little kit. Very easy to take along with you. I use a pencil for sketching. This is my favorite pencil. It is a mechanical pencil. It's a Graph Gear. I will have this listed in the downloads with the supplies. It's a mechanical pencil, and I usually, because I do so much sketching, I will bring some extra leads with me. The hardness of this lead is 2B. It's the one I prefer. It is sort of a medium hardness, and it has nice coverage. I think everybody has their own preference, but this is the one that I use. I can just stick the pencil right in here with the leads, so I always have that handy, and I can see where it is looking through the container. Pens are important too. My preference, and there are a lot of good pens on the market, my preference are the Pitt pens. And this set is great. I just recently found this, and it has goes all the way from extra small all the way up to 1.5. It's not always necessary to bring all 8 of these pens, so they do make them in smaller sets. The main ones that I always have with me, though, I always have an extra small, a fine, and a medium. Those are my 4 favorite widths of pen. But I can fit the large set, so I usually do bring it when I'm traveling. So I'll put the small one over here and see how the big one fits right in our container. Okay. Going back to paint a little bit again too, I always carry a tube of white gouache. The gouache is a watercolor paint, but it's a much thicker and more opaque paint. It is liquid. And the nice thing about having white gouache with you is that it can lighten any color you have, but also gouache keeps the watercolor wetter longer. It gives you more open time with your paint, so this is always nice to have. Also, when mixing skin tones, it will give you, added to some of the warmer colors in your palette, it will give you some nice skin tones. So I always keep a tube of this. Only one tip I have to offer here, though. I have been going through TSA. This has been pulled out as a gel or liquid, and sometimes it's overlooked. So, you know, to be safe, you might want to put this with your gels and liquids in a carry-on. And incidentally, I always do carry my watercolors on the airplane. I don't put them in my check bags. I would hate to lose anything, especially my journal, so I do bring them. But a lot of times I can tuck it right in the bag and it gets overlooked, and I don't want anybody breaking any laws or anything, but just to point that out, that it is a liquid watercolor. Another nice thing to have, and this is also great on an airplane or anywhere I go, is a collapsible water cup. Faber-Castell makes this as well, and it just pops open. So you have a nice container for your water. If you're out in the field sketching or painting, you have this handy. You can fill it with your water bottle, and then when you're finished, dump it out and you can just collapse it again. So this fits very nicely into our kit just off to the side here. We're starting to get a little full here, but we still have plenty of room. Let's talk about our paint brushes for a minute. Essential ones that I carry, I always have a number 6 watercolor brush with me. It is the basic round brush that I use for everything. However, I do have these brushes in every size. This is a Da Vinci watercolor brush. It is specifically for traveling. You unscrew it, pull it out, and there's your brush. It's a nice moppy thickness there. You screw the cap onto the end, and it gives you a nice surface for painting. This is, like I said, the basic size that I use pretty much for everything. So these are good to have. However, if you can't get to where you can have a water cup and your brush to dip in water, these water pens are nice. You simply fill the barrel of the pen with water. Don't know if you can see that or not, but there's some water in here. And you just give it a gentle squeeze, and the water will come right out the tip. Let's see if I can get a little bit out here. You can dip it right in your watercolor and wet it and do a nice little wash. So this is a nice little handy portable watercolor brush here. These are the two basics I would always have with me. Again, like I said, I have them in every size. They are quite expensive, but they are well worth it for me, for what I do. So they also, I can bring them all with me. They do all fit. Another brush that I always have with me is a teeny tiny little fine liner. If you can see that in the camera, super, super tiny for detail. I do occasionally need that, so I bring that with me. It doesn't take up any space at all. And I can just drop that in our kit as well, along with the watercolor, water brush, and my number 6. So now I have all these brushes, all these brushes still in my kit. For sketching, I bring usually just one charcoal pencil with me. It's a 2B. It's occasionally I just want to sketch something instead of paint something, so it gives me a nice little width for charcoal. And to smudge it, I bring one of these stubbing pencils with me, and it's just tightly wound paper, and this isn't watercolor paper, so we're getting a little rubbing here, but I bring this for blending. So these two usually go in my kit as well. You can see that there. They pop right in. Another pencil that I find essential is the Stabilo. It's a paper glass plastic metal pencil. This pencil is water soluble, so I always bring that. Sometimes I'll do some outlining or highlighting, and if you take a brush and add water to this line, you'll see, let's see if I can get a brush here and do that. I like this. This is a very flexible brush. Just run a little bit of water in it and you get a nice bleed there. So sometimes that's important in the journals. It's just easy to take that to get a nice technique. Of course, with all these pencils, you do need a pencil sharpener. Now this may seem big for a travel set, but I like, you can bring a teeny tiny little school sharpener if you want, but I like this one because it does catch the shavings. So if I'm somewhere where I can't dump them, I at least have them here, and it will sharpen several different sizes of pencils. So I can still fit this in my kit with no problem. It just pops right there in the side. So when we're using pencils, we of course need an eraser. This is a kneaded eraser. This is my preference for erasers. No matter how much you use it, to keep it clean, you can pull it apart almost like silly putty and keep turning it inside out, and then mold it together, and you always have a clean surface to erase on. So that's very important, especially with charcoals and pencil sketching. So I keep that, and that can just drop in my case as well. A few other little things here that I always try to bring. I like to have a metal ruler. The metal ruler is good for tearing paper. Here's a little spare piece of paper. I can either draw a straight edge with it, or if I need to just tear off a sheet of paper, you just lay the ruler. You can do this with a metal ruler. Just lay the ruler over top of the paper and pull it to where you rip. So you get a nice little sort of torn edge there. But this is a sort of a handy little tool to have, so I always try to keep that in my pack as well. For highlighting, and when you just need a bright white, the best thing I have found, and I have tried a lot of white pens, is the Bic Whiteout pen. It's the shake and squeeze. Shake it up, and you have to squeeze it a little bit and prime the tip of it, and you get some nice little Some nice little white marks, sort of the whites of eyes or a little shine, a little hint of sunlight on something. Sometimes this is just the brightest white. Watercolors can absorb color underneath, so this will be a very opaque white if you ever need it. That fits nicely in the bag as well. For masking off something, if you wanted to just cover something up, I don't bring masking fluid with me because, again, on an airplane that would be a problem, but just some painter's removable artist tape or masking tape. I keep a roll of that in there. You never know when you're going to need that. A glue stick. I use glue sticks. This Yoo-Hoo is a great glue stick, or any kind of a collage glue stick works well. I bring this because if I have a little, maybe a ticket stub or a business card or a little brochure or something that I want to put in my travel journal, this is nice for sticking it down, and you're not having to bring a liquid glue with you on the airplane. So that fits in there. And then a teeny tiny pair of scissors. These are TSA acceptable. I've had them pulled out and looked at, but I've never had them taken. These are teeny tiny little scissors, and these are made by Westcott, and they are very, very sharp, and they're great. You never know when you're collaging or journaling that you might need a little pair of scissors, and they can fit in there. Preferably put them point side down. And then the last few items that I keep in my travel kit, I keep a few spare pieces of watercolor paper just in case I need to test some colors or just do a quick sketch. They tuck in there. And I bring a few pieces of deli paper. And this deli paper is just exactly what the name insinuates. It is paper that's used to wrap sandwiches in delis. I use it a lot in my studio, but I carry it with me in the event that I do some charcoal sketching. I can put this between the pages of my journal so they don't smudge. This is a handy little piece of paper to have. And then I keep 5 or 6 folded up paper towels. This is, I believe the brand's Viva. It's a nice, very thick absorbent paper towel, but it's great for mopping up your water off your brush or just dabbing something, or if you're doing a wet on wet technique in your book that you can dab it on. And this will last a long time. Here's some. These have been on a few trips with me, but they last a really long time. They absorb and they dry, and you can use them over and over again. So these fit right in as well. Let's see if we can gingerly tuck those in there. Better do them one at a time. And I can fold these paper towels and put them right here. And as you can see, we're all set to go. Nice little kit, not too heavy. It probably weighs about 1.5 pounds, and I really do have some more room in there. I could put a few more things, but I think this is good enough. So anyway, that's my tips for a traveling art kit, and I hope that you can develop one that suits your needs. And really, if you leave with this, you're going to have everything you need. So happy journaling.